What up, what up, what up, what up? It's your boy P. Skip. Welcome to the best half hour of your entire Tuesday. You know what time it is. It's time to get into his court. My squad with me, T-Mac.
Hola.
Chili Will.
Gracias, amigo.
Let's do this. So check this out. Let's look at Luke chapter 10, verses 5 through 7 in the Amplified. And it says, whatever house you enter, first say, peace. That is a blessing of well-being and prosperity, the favor of God to your house. And if anyone of peace is there, someone who is sweet-spirited and hospitable, your blessings of peace will rest on them. But if not, it will return to you. Stay in that house, eating and drinking what they provide. For the laborer is worthy of his wages, and do not move from the house. And I said that because Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens have kept details of his contract, of their contract negotiations private. The star quarterback turned down a 6-year extension offer worth $290 million, with $133 million guaranteed. He turned it down because he said, I want all 290 guaranteed. And he said that because of what Deshaun Watson got in Cleveland. He got his whole contract guaranteed. And he's saying, I'm not as good as Deshaun Watson. Give me that guarantee. Because Russell Westbrook signed a $242.5 million earlier this month, to average about $48.5 million annually, including $161 million guaranteed. And about a couple of weeks earlier, Kyler Murray received $230.5 million, which comes out to $46 million per year, including $189.5 million guaranteed. So he's saying, listen, I know I'm better than them two. And this is what I'm thinking he's thinking. And so if y'all don't want to give me what I want within this extension, I'll wait to the end of the year and I can go anywhere I want at the end of next year. And you can try to franchise me, but I'm not going to take that. And I'll get what I want wherever I want to go. What do y'all think about this? Do you think, him betting on himself is a good thing? Or do you think he needs to take that money and just say, go ahead and play and be done with it? Well, I'll let you go first, Tim.
Yeah, I think that, first of all, I like Lamar Jackson. I liked him in, Louisville. I like him as, a pro, former MVP of the league, his perennial playoff bound team. I mean, last year he had a dip in season, but that was because they lost 3 or 4 running backs before the season even started. So he was playing with less of a team and he got injured, the latter part of last year. As far as him being on par, skill-wise, talent-wise with those other guys you've mentioned, I think he's right up there with them. And I would like for him to get his money and as much of it guaranteed as possible. I think what Deshaun Watson's agent and his team did kind of put a monkey wrench in some things. That was just a master stroke for him to get all of that guaranteed. I think Lamar is asking for more than the 230 that Deshaun Watson got guaranteed. And if he were to come back some, maybe 250, saying, hey, let me get all of that guaranteed, I think maybe the Ravens might be a bit more agreeable, to that. I think the challenge for him, just from, the NFL, case and how they evaluate players, and even also from the eye test, I think that, he's looking for the guarantee, of course, because he's more of a running quarterback or runs quite often. So his propensity for injury is very, very high. So he should be trying to get as much coin as he can as guaranteed, because you never know, any given play, he could be out for the year, given his propensity to run. I think the challenge that he has, though, is that he's not a classic drop back passer, and the limited success that they've had in the playoffs, some of it, an argument can be made, has been attributable to him not being able to be more of a pass first quarterback as opposed to one that is a running quarterback who happens to throw occasionally. If he can demonstrate this year that he's worked on his game and, hey, although I do have a strength in running, I'm also equally adept at passing, being more of a traditional pocket passer, because what happens in the playoffs is the defense kind of constricts what you do, particularly if you are a running team, whether you guys feature running backs or a running quarterback, and they take that piece away from you. So his ability to, be multidimensional, it kind of gets exposed in the playoffs, and teams put 8 in the box. They stack the deck against him, and his passing is a little bit deficient, and his runs are a little bit more, a little less effective because the defense is geared towards it. If he can demonstrate that, hey, I am a mature, equally effective, cold-blooded passer, that I think elevates his stature, makes the case for him, and shows the rest of the league that, hey, I'm not one-dimensional. I'm a for real quarterback. Quit faking the funk and give me my bread. Now, as far as other teams wanting him, there's been some talk about the Miami Dolphins and others making some overtures for him, but I think he might low-key have some slim pickings if he can't demonstrate that, hey, man, I am a quarterback who happens to be able to run, as opposed to being labeled as a running guy who happens to play quarterback.
Yeah, that's a pretty accurate assessment of what he's dealing with. But I think that when he start comparing himself to Deshaun Watson, that's not apples to apples. Not only from a passing standpoint, because Deshaun Watson has demonstrated to be a more efficient and proficient passer than Jackson. Lamar Jackson, he has shown that, and he has shown the ability to run the ball when necessary. So it's not, they don't have the same game. But I think the real difference in the money being guaranteed and not being guaranteed, I don't think it's in the ability or the quality of Jackson and Watson at quarterback. I think it's the difference between Cleveland as a franchise and the Ravens as a franchise. I think Cleveland is more desperate. It's a place that people don't want to go to. Mm-hmm. They haven't won in 2 decades. And to get Deshaun Watson, they had to take a little more risk and do a few more things in order to have him be attracted to Cleveland. On the other hand, the Ravens is a perennial playoff team, won Super Bowls. They've done a lot of things successful over the years. They're not as desperate for a star player and a star quarterback as Cleveland is. So I think that's the difference in the guaranteed money. Lamar Jackson want to act like the Ravens are a destitute franchise. They desperate. They don't have a good fan base and fan following. That is not true. They have traditionally been a great franchise, and they are to this day, and they will be with or without Lamar Jackson. I think that's the difference in the amount of money that they want to guarantee. I personally would not step on the field without my loot if it was me, because football is brutal. And, a lot of players, I give you a prime example, RG3. RG3 was setting the league on fire. One hit, it was over with. Mm-hmm. Same thing has happened to some other people. So yeah. I don't think that Lamar Jackson is being wise by stepping on the field, unless his strategy is, I'm going to take us up to a certain point in the season, and we're going to have a great record, and we're going to be going against a team that probably was going to beat us anyway. And at that point, I'm going to say, hey, I ain't playing no more unless y'all pay me. Now, if that's his strategy, okay, he owns something. But if he's going to keep walking out there game after game after game and putting his body and life and limb and his generational wealth on the line, I just don't believe that's a smart decision. I'll use a quote that was used in a Tom Cruise movie. There's not many things on earth that you can buy with $250 million that you can't buy with $100 billion.
Right.
Yeah, I think one other thing I'll add to that, even in the more recent time, that's RG3 is an excellent example of a guy who was great, set the league on fire, Washington was in the playoffs and all that kind of stuff, and he tore his knee up. Dak Prescott, even with Dallas, did a similar thing a couple of years ago when he broke up his ankle. I think for Lamar Jackson, I think he's trying to do 2 things. Number one, demonstrate to the players, hey, y'all, I'm loyal, and if this thing doesn't work out, y'all can see that it wasn't on me, it was on the franchise. I think the other thing that he might have an opportunity to do to maybe guard or mitigate against a catastrophic injury is he can take out some insurance against injury. So in the event he does, while he is playing however many games he plays this season before he's able to sign a contract extension that is, agreeable to him, that in that particular instance, he still gets 100, 150, 200 million dollars, whatever he can insure his body against to kind of mitigate that loss. But other than those two, items there, it does seem a bit risky for him to be, risking, like you said, Will, life and limb, literally, to be able to demonstrate that, hey, I am worth the money. If the team is obstinate in the fact that, hey, we ain't giving you the bread, do what you got to do. And if you got to bounce, go ahead and bounce. We signed Joe Flacco to a $100 million contract before you took his spot. He went out and won a Super Bowl in his contract year. If you can take us there, maybe we can holler. But anything short of that, you might not have anything coming above and beyond what we've already offered up to this point.
I'm going to close this segment with two things. One is every player, every professional sports athlete has their body insured with Lloyd's of London. That means NBA players, some of them have $1 million per finger. So if they break their finger, they're getting $1 million from Lloyd's of London. So all of these players have their body parts insured through Lloyd's of London. The other thing, in talking about, the days of the traditional stay in the pocket quarterbacks is really coming to an end. Every quarterback has to scramble because these linemen are big, they're fast, and they're making you scramble. To me, it's quarterbacks who can't scramble that ended up their career ends slowly, because you got to extend these plays. And if you can't extend the play, now I get it. They don't need to be run first quarterbacks. They need to be able to run as an option, but that's plan B or C, not plan A. I get that. That shouldn't be the first option. But you have to have a quarterback who can scramble. Case in point, Aaron Rodgers is not very good at it and was getting blasted because our linemen were just not that good enough to keep that pocket open enough for him. If they did, he was just being an assassin. But when they weren't able to, he was getting lit up and stayed injured. So we have to begin to reevaluate how we look at these quarterbacks. Before, it was all about the staying in the pocket, taking a hit, and keep moving. Now it's about, okay, you're an investment now. You better be able to move to save your life and save your longevity. So these quarterbacks are changing, and I think it needs to be. But let's keep it moving. Let's move over to the NBA. But I'm going to read this. Proverbs 6-8 in the NLT reads like this. Take a lesson from the ants. Well, before I get to the NBA, I want to talk about the WNBA. And Will, you've been itching to talk about the WNBA for about 2-3 weeks now, man. So what's going on with the WNBA?
Man, we got to show our sisters some love in the WNBA, man. If you are not watching the WNBA playoffs and now they're to the finals, you are missing out on a great entertainment value. These sisters are out there balling. You hear me? Straight balling. And they've been impressive in every aspect of the game. Honestly, they as good as the men in everything they do, except dunking. Other than that, they can shoot, make free throws, passes, run the floor, rebound, and it's a very, very, very good entertainment value for people to check out. Right now, we're into the finals, and we had a Las Vegas Aces going against the Connecticut Sun. The Aces actually won today. Very big game. They won today. They're up 1-0. But going into the playoffs, Chicago and the Sun had a great game, went to Game 5, and Candace Parker tried to pull it off to take her team back to the championship, to make it back-to-back championships for Chicago. But they fell short, even though they was up by 7 points with like 3 minutes and 30 seconds to go. But Connecticut put on an 18-0 run to take the lead and propel their team into the finals. So right now, They're up 1-0. They're down 1-0. Las Vegas is up 1-0. We got last year's MVP in the game, this year's MVP in the game, Coach of the Year, Sixth Woman of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. All of them are performing right now in the finals. And Chelsea Gray, if you guys haven't watched Chelsea Gray, you're missing a treat. She is putting on a basketball clinic. And then if you look in the stands, you see Tyrone Lue in the stands. You see Ja Morant in the stands. You see Boogie. A lot of different celebrities are at those games supporting our sisters. So I just want to put a commercial out and encourage people who have not been watching the WNBA. You're missing out on something, and our sisters deserve the love. And I will close this by saying this. Free BG.
Yes, sir. Well, let's go on. Thank you for that, Will. And big ups to the WNBA. Proverbs 6:6-8 in the New Living Translation says this. Take a lesson from the ants, you lazy bones. Learn from their ways and become wise. Though they have no prince or governor or ruler to make them work, they labor hard all summer and gather food for the winter. I said that because there are some teams in the NBA who's taking this off season to gather what they need to gather to be better for this up and coming season. One of them, I think, is Philly. Philly's roster is nicer than I've seen Philly's roster in at least 5 years. On Philly's roster, they have Embiid, Harden. They just picked up Montrezl Harrell. They just picked up Harrell, Tobias Harris, Maxey, and PJ Tucker. That's a really powerful team. And that if they get their chemistry together, they're going to give a lot of teams fits. Because we know what Embiid can give you at the center spot. We know what Harden can give you at the 2, sometimes 1. Maxey is solid, and he's about to end his rookie contract. I think this is the last year of his rookie contract, so he's about to get paid. Tobias Harris, he's iffy. He's iffy though. But Harrell, he's an energy guy. And he's a backup center for Embiid, but I think they are going to be the biggest, I think, obstacle for the Bucks because of they needed one of the things they needed most, and they got was a backup for Embiid, because most of his backups didn't do anything. They just was kind of like, let me just fill in some time until he comes back on the court. But I think what Harrell does, the energy guy, he doesn't need the ball, but he's going to get those putbacks. He's going to get those defensive stops. You're not going to lose anything. You probably pick up something defensively, and offensively, he doesn't need the ball to score because he's going to get rebound. Will, what do you think as far as Philly? Do you think they got better, or do you think we shouldn't be worrying about them as a Bucks fan?
Oh, definitely we should be worried about. The East is going to be straight up war. We talked about this on a previous show. I think Cleveland has seriously upgraded.
Right.
We haven't talked a lot about Deshaun Murray going to Atlanta. That's very important.
Right.
You got upgrades across the board. But PJ Tucker and Harrell going to Philadelphia, 2 energy guys, 2 defensive guys, 2 grown men, tough type cats. I think it makes Philly a real tough out in the East. Now the Bucks, I'm a little disappointed in the additions that they've had during the offseason. Right now, the rumor is they may get Russell Westbrook. Now, if that happens, then you might as well pencil the Bucks in to the finals for this year. So if that happens, okay, we in business. But barring that happening, the Bucks they can't have any injuries. We got to see how losing Darvin Ham as a coach plays over into the players and how they play, the impact that Darvin Ham had on them as far as their performances. It's going to be really tough in the East this year. But Philly, they picked up Harrell. I didn't like it. Cleveland picked up
Murray.
Donovan Mitchell.
no Mitchell.
Mitchell.
Mitchell. I
Right.
didn't like it. Atlanta picking up Murray. I didn't like that either. I don't like none of the pickups that people are getting. I think Brooklyn is getting ready to pick up Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
I don't like that either. So it's gonna be real tough for the Bucks this year, and we'll see. But I heard, I might have been from one of you guys, that Giannis is shooting close to or over 80% from the free throw line in the European League.
That's
That's
you
big.
didn't hear from us. We just heard it from you.
Oh, okay. I heard that somebody told me that. I thought it might have been one of you guys. Might have been my guy out west, Dre Russell. Shout out to Dre Russell and KJLH and his radio station. Stevie Wonder's actually radio station in LA. Shout out, Dre. What's up, bro? Anyway, Giannis being over 80% from the free throw line, that opens up a whole new dimension too for the Milwaukee Bucks. So training camp opens 2 weeks from Tuesday.
Let's go Bucks. Tim.
Wow, that's I don't know. I mean, I agree with a lot of what Will said. The Philly piece, though, at the top of the discussion, I'm not really that impressed by that. On paper they added a couple of guys. Harrell has been kind of out of order the last couple of years. Seems like he's got kicked off the teams he's been on just for some of his off the court poor decisions. And we've all made mistakes and done some things that might not have been, in our best interest, had a lapse in judgment, just that some consequences are more severe and significant than others. PJ Tucker, he might be, washed as a player. He does still bring a lot to the table, but he's going to be, 37, 38, 39 this year. And unfortunately, I really like Doc Rivers as a coach. He won his hardware with Boston back in 2008. Quite frankly, hasn't really done much since that time. Lost a couple of crucial series when he was coaching the Clippers. When they had at least one or two of those years, I thought the best team in the NBA with a couple of heavyweight superstars, couldn't get it done. Philadelphia team, although they had a couple brushes with injuries last year, couldn't get it done. I'm thinking that he's gonna, demonstrate again this year, unfortunately, that he can't get it done. The players that he has have been a little enigmatic or, a little mysterious. You don't know who's going to show up. Embiid has solidified himself as being legit, and he seems like he wants to win. Harden, from what I've seen, seems to be getting in shape. And I think those two are still going to be the main cogs, of course, with Maxey, if he's able to emerge as a legitimate third option. Tobias Harris, I think, since his time with us, I think when we drafted him, he's always been this guy that holds all this, potential and promise, but you're just not that guy. And I had a good friend tell me one time he was playing college basketball, and his coach told him that players that have potential means that you ain't blankety blank right now. That good friend happens to be Will Wade on this panel. So
I wonder who
Tobias Harris and have potential. Right. So Tobias Harris and his potential, hey, it's been potential for 10 years. So they don't really strike any concern to me unless they prove otherwise. I think that Boston, the pickup of Malcolm Brogdon was humongous. And if the team can kind of gel and not get into any sort of, player ego situations, they're going to be super tough. Their coach coached his behind off last year. They didn't have any business, I thought, at all getting to the finals, let alone having the chance to win the series. I mean, argument can be made. They should have won that series. They didn't. Golden State did. Big ups to, Golden State Warriors, defending champs. But I think Boston is going to be tough. And so long as, KD and Kyrie are in Brooklyn, even though they have been imploding as well, thank the Lord, I'm thinking somewhere along the line as grown men, they're going to take this kind of personal and want to just prove to the, hey, man, let's go out here and just play ball. Not for the headlines, not for the predictions, not for all the pundits putting us as the favorites to win it. Let's just, as ball players, we've been disrespected and not shown our best selves. Let's go out there and play for each other and just ball out. If they do that, they're going to be a tough team to beat, as well. So Philadelphia, I don't see them as being higher than maybe the third, fourth, fifth best team in the East. as of right now, despite those additions. And lastly, with the Bucks, I too have been a little underwhelmed by what they've done. I don't know that I like Russell Westbrook. If we got him, I appreciate his energy. He's still a guy that gives all effort. I just don't know if I want him on my team. There have also been rumors that Jordan Clarkson
Right.
from Utah has been in the mix as well. I think that's a little more palatable to what I'm thinking we need. Outside guy who can hit shots, actually, can you dribble, draw, dish to him? He can actually hit, and low key, he can create his own shot as well. Mid range,
and he can carry a second unit.
And can carry a second unit. So I would like that pickup more than a Russell Westbrook, both from the player personnel piece, what he's been able to contribute and display. And most of all, I think that's a better fit for what we need. If they could do that, I would pencil the Bucks in as coming out the East as the favorite, despite what Miami does, Boston, the Brooklyn Nets, and Philly for that matter. So I think if we can get that player or a player equivalent to that, I like our chances. Short of that, we're going to be in a little bit of trouble as well.
And then let me just add to that. That's the kind of player that we've been needing and missing for the last 4 or 5 years.
Clarkson, absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Absolutely. One of the things I'm looking at with all of this is, what is the mindset of the Bucks front office? Because all of us are playing, armchair quarterback or armchair GM, but we have yet to figure out how they think. We thought, okay, we got Boogie. You gonna keep him? No, we're not. They done did a bunch of 10-day folks that we thought they were going to keep, they didn't keep, and folks we thought they shouldn't keep, they kept.
And those they kept, they didn't play, like Serge Ibaka.
Right. And even I'm looking at, okay, why is Wes Matthews still on the roster? Why is Hill still on the roster? Why is Grayson Allen still on the roster? We don't understand the decisions that they're making. And we're trying our best to go, okay, we're giving you the benefit of the doubt. But
Pastor Skip. Hey, let me give you like a 5-second timeout, man, so you can calm down. hey, let me give you 5 seconds, man, because you want to know why.
Right. Hey, man, I'm just trying to figure it out, and I have no clue what they're doing. But somehow in their head, they know what they're doing. And we just need to believe that they'll get it together. Out of the two, I would rather have Clarkson, one, because he's younger, and two, because he can do more things. We need a consistent jump shooter. And that's always been our problem. And the other piece is what you brought up, somebody, Pastor Tim, that can create their own shot.
Yes.
That has been the missing piece for the Bucks. You got two people that can create their own shot, Giannis and Middleton, and sometimes Drew.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, that's it. Everybody else is pieces to them. And we need a piece that can say, okay, we need a bucket second unit. Can you get it to us, Clarkson? Other than putting Chris Middleton out there. So I think if we could get him, I think he'd be a huge asset to the Bucks. And I think he definitely he'd be very, very valuable come playoff time. So with that being said, listen, another great show. Meet us every Tuesday from 7 to 7:30 right here on the #1 faith-based sports talk in the entire world, Into His Court. Until next week, have an amazing week. Peace.